Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I'm coming to you live from Columbus, Georgia, as this is Saturday morning. When I was in college back in my radio days, I loved doing shows Saturday morning because it gave me time just to get a show out there. And I know that it was a very unpopular time slot, but if you're watching us, thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Facebook channel. I'm also found on the X and on Instagram. And as always, you can download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. So today is the 2024 GHSA football preview show. I'm excited about this show because I've been doing my research. I've been looking at the schedule. So what we're going to do on this show, we're going to recap everything that happened in 2023. We're going to preview the upcoming season for all classifications in the GHSA. And I'm going to go down the top recruits, according to Rivals.com, in the state of Georgia. So the 2024 season, remember 7A has gone away. There is no more 7A. We only have 6 classifications at the GHSA. Well, 7 if you include Class 1A Division 1 and Division 2. So let's go ahead and dive right into the show. Well, let's recap a little bit about 2023. We're going to start with 7A. There is no more 7A in the state of Georgia. So Milton goes out on top. They win the championship for 7A. And they defeat Walton 31-21 in the 7A championship. A lot of great teams in 7A making the transition down to 6A, but Milton's going all the way down to 5A. But some of the top teams in 6A include Carrollton. Carrollton has the number 1 recruit in the entire country, Juju Lewis. He is the verbal commit to USC. Remember, last year, Carrollton lost to Walton in the quarterfinals. So Carrollton looks like one of the favorites in 7A. And by the way, I'm going to make my picks on this show. I'm going to predict who is going to be in the championship for all classifications of the GHSA. And of course, later on in the summer months, I plan on having GPB Sports anchor John Nelson, as he's agreed to come on the show. We're going to have a high school football preview show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've had John Nelson. I've had Hannah Goodman on the show. I mean, they do just a fantastic job on their Fantastic Football Fridays podcast on GPB Sports. And so go check that out. And I'm here in Columbus, the Chattahoochee Valley, where when it comes to high school football season, we are grinding as we are live streaming games on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But here on this podcast, I try to cover all high school football just in and around the Chattahoochee Valley, and also touch up on some of the high schools in the state of Georgia. And so for 6A, you got a lot of talented teams that could win a state title. Remember, the defending champions for 6A is Thomas County Central, but they are not in 6A anymore. They have moved on to 5A. So here's what I'm going to do is high school football will officially kick off on August the 14th. In the 33rd annual Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. Now, if you're a football team in Georgia and you're playing in this classic, it is always a great time. They'll play at high schools like at Kell High School, West Forsyth, and then on Saturday, they'll play at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's just an incredible way to kick off the high school football season. And we've got a local team here in the Chattahoochee Valley that will kick things off, as they will be featured in the Corky Kell Classic at Kell High School. The LaGrange Grangers are taking on Douglas of Atlanta. Kickoff at 4:30 on August the 14th. And then Kell is taking on North Atlanta on Thursday at West Forsyth High School. We got Dunwoody taking on South Paulding. And then we have West Forsyth taking on the 2-time champions of Class 1A Division 1, Prince Avenue Christian. By the way, they're in a new classification. They move up to 2A. Could they be one of the favorites in 2A? Friday, August the 16th, we've got at Hebron Christian High School, we got Hebron Christian taking on Farrell. Remember, Anthony Edwards went to Farrell. I know that's a different sport. He's basketball. You know, Minnesota's right now taking on Dallas. So at Barron Stadium, we got the Callaway Cavaliers. Coach Pete Wiggins won a state title in 2021. It seems like Callaway gets to the quarterfinals at least just about every year. They are taking on Cass, and that is going to be at 5 o'clock on Friday, August the 16th at Barron Stadium. And then Rome is taking on Creekside. Creekside is one of those teams that is always had great players, including Eric Berry coming out of Creekside. That's just a powerhouse when it comes to high school football in Georgia. And then the showcase on Saturday. We've got 4 teams playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. We got Brookwood. They are taking on Walton. Walton is now in 6A. They are the defending 7A champions. And then Howson County, as they are taking on Alpharetta at 1 p.m. And then McEachern is taking on North Gwinnett at 4 p.m. And then Cedar Grove is taking on Douglas County. So let's take a preview with 6A because I've got about 8 teams that I think could win a championship at 6A. I'm going to start with Carrollton. I think that Juju Lewis coming back, and you remember this quarterback was featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was a sophomore. He is the number 1 recruit in the entire nation. All eyes are going to be on Juju Lewis this season, and Carrollton is just ready off the gate. Their first game, they're taking on Woodward Academy, and that is just going to be a massive game. I also think that Walton, the runners-up in 7A last year, they should be one of the favorites in 6A. Walton had a very good season last year, but fell short in the championship. I kind of felt like their path was a little bit easier because in the semifinals, they did knock off the number 3 seed Camden County, who upset McEachern. And then Buford. They don't have Dylan Rayola anymore, but we all know that Buford is like a factory putting players into college at the next level. And then Collins Hill. Collins Hill is where Travis Hunter went, and Collins Hill is going to be one of the top teams in 6A. Mill Creek, also another top team in 6A in Colquitt County. I mean, Colquitt County had an incredible year last year, but lost in the quarterfinals to Milton. A very close game, 39-37. And then Grayson. Grayson has always been a powerhouse. They did lose in the semifinals last year to Milton. So that's a look at 6A. And don't count out Camden County. I think that Camden County had a very special season last year as a number 3 seed, making it all the way to the semifinals in 6A. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at 5A. We're going to recap 6A because a lot of these teams in 6A have gone down to 5A. The defending 6A champions are Thomas County Central. They defeated Woodward Academy 49-28. And when you look at 6A, Thomas County Central is now in 5A. You got Milton that won the championship in 7A. They are in 5A. And I'm going to make my predictions. I predicted for 6A that the championship is going to be Carrollton and Walton. My championship in 5A is going to be Milton and Thomas County Central. And I mean, that's a pretty good championship right there. And in 5A, you got teams like Coffee, Howson County, Lee County, which has one of the top running backs in the state of Georgia. I'll get into that when I have the top recruits, according to Rivals.com. Woodward Academy, they lost in the championship in 6A. And then, of course, Milton. So 5A is going to have a lot of great teams. I'm looking forward to it. Recapping last year, the defending 5A champions is Coffee. Coffee is staying put in 5A this year as they defeated Creekside in the championship 31-14. So get ready. And we do have some teams in 5A that's moved down to 4A. Let's talk about 4A because it seems like Benedictine has been the team to beat in 4A. They were the 2-time defending champions going into the season last year. But Benedictine, their pursuit for a three-peat came just short in the semifinals when they lost to Stockbridge 45-31. Perry ended up getting a big win over Stars Mill and then defeating Stockbridge in the championship. Perry is the defending 4A champions, and rightfully so. When you look at the teams in 4A, you got to put Creekside and Cartersville in there. They go down from 5A to 4A. I think that Creekside and Cartersville is going to compete for a 4A championship. Stars Mill is going to be a powerhouse. I think that Stockbridge, they are one of those teams. And then Warner Robins. Warner Robins going from 5A to 4A. We're talking about a powerhouse in 5A making the transition from 4A. So what's my prediction for the 4A championship? I think it is going to be two teams that were 5A schools playing in 4A, Warner Robins and Cartersville. See, I love this reclassification. And now let's go to 3A, because the defending champions for 3A is Cedar Grove. And rightfully so. Cedar Grove has got a little bit of competition in 3A because you got several schools from 4A that are making the transition down to 3A to include LaGrange and Troup County. I think they can both compete in 3A. Sandy Creek, who won the championship 2 years ago, is in 3A as well, but they had a disappointing first round exit in the playoffs. And the championship last year, Cedar Grove taking on Savannah Christian. Well, Savannah Christian is in a different reclassification. They moved all the way down to Class 1A Division 1. You got to think that Cedar Grove is the team to beat here. So my championship prediction is going to be Cedar Grove and Calvary Day, but you can never count out Peach County. Peach County is a very sneaky team in 3A that has always had a tradition of winning. But I think that if you're going to pick a championship in 3A, that's a good place to start. Calvary Day and Cedar Grove. All right, 2A is going to be a lot of fun because I cannot figure out who is going to win the championship in 2A. Fitzgerald's not there anymore. You don't have teams like, Pierce County. They are still there, but Fitzgerald is gone. Thomasville, they went from 3A to 1A. Carver went down to 2A from 3A, and Callaway is still there. And then you have Prince Avenue Christian making the jump from 1A Division 1 to 2A. So who's going to win the 2A championship? And if I were to pick two teams that, have been, on my radar since I've been covering sports here in the Chattahoochee Valley, two teams that had a tradition of winning and making deep runs in the state playoffs, they could be on a collision course to meet in the championship. This would be the dream scenario, to see Carver of Columbus take on Callaway. How exciting would that be if that was the 2A championship? But in a perfect world, I do think that Prince Avenue Christian is going to compete at 2A. I also think that Pierce County is looking to defend their 2A championship. And there are so many great teams in 2A, to include Thompson as well. And then also you got to factor in that region that Carver is in with Spencer. You also have Shaw going down to 2A. Shaw is going to be better. And teams like Hardaway and Columbus, they're all going to be down in 2A. Let's see how they compete at the 2A level. It is going to be a lot of fun. But if I were to pick a championship in 2A, I got to be a homer here and pick Carver and Callaway. That would be absolutely incredible. Carver went to the semifinals last year, lost to Savannah Christian. Savannah Christian's not even in the region anymore, not even in the classification. And then Carver jumped down to 2A. They don't have to play Sandy Creek. They don't have to play Cedar Grove or Calvary Day. I kind of feel that Carver has got to be the favorite in 2A, right? And same with Callaway. Callaway has always made a deep run in 2A. It would be just a perfect scenario that Carver and Callaway would meet in the state championship. And that is my hot sports take. So you can catch that on my show on WQEE Monday through Fridays from 2 to 3. All right. Class 1A Division 2. There are three teams that come to mind when I think of Class 1A Division 2. You got the two-time champions, Bowden, trying to go for the three-peat. You got Schley County, that has always been tough, and Manchester, led by their new head coach, DeMonte Prather. They got one of the top recruits in the entire nation, Justice Terry, 5-star defensive tackle, who is a beast on that line. Manchester making it all the way to the state championship last year. They got a tough schedule. They're in a new region. In fact, they're in the same region with Bowden. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. They open up the season against Harris County. This is going to be a lot of fun to see Manchester battling it out and possibly dethroning Bowden. And you can never count out Schley County. I know they lost Jalua Solomon and Jay Kawazana. That was just the offensive firepower that Schley County had. But Schley County is always going to be a powerhouse in high school football. And those fans down there in Ellaville love their Schley County Wildcats. It is just an incredible sight to see. And finally, Class 1A Division 1. I think there's no question here that this is a collision course for the state championship to be the Fitzgerald Purple Hurricane taking on Savannah Christian. Both teams have excelled in their previous classifications. Fitzgerald has won a championship at 2A. Now they're going down to Class 1A Division 1. You got to think that the Purple Hurricane are the favorites. And then in this classification, Prince Avenue Christian is not even there anymore. But Swainsboro is always going to be a tough team. Remember, they went to the championship the last 2 seasons, but just lost to Prince Avenue Christian. And then Savannah Christian making that jump from 3A down to Class 1A Division 1. So I know that's a mouthful. That's a lot to soak in, but we do have the schedule. It's not finalized. The GHSA schedule is not finalized for your information, but as I do shows later on in the summer months previewing high school football, I will try to break down the schedule into more detail. But now it's part of the show where I talk about the top recruits in the entire state of Georgia according to Rivals.com, and you got to start with probably one of the best pro prospects to ever come out of the state of Georgia. He is number 1 in the nation. It is Julian Juju Lewis. He is a 5-star pro quarterback from Carrollton. He is 6'1", 175. He's a verbal commit to USC, even though I've heard reports that he could decommit. Georgia wants him. I mean, every school out here, Clemson, Auburn, they all want him. I mean, why not? He is a very special quarterback, and I think that Carrollton is going to be featured and highlighted in a lot of games. I do want to talk about the schedule because they do open up against Woodward Academy, and then they take on Columbia, they take on Rome, they take on Lithia Springs, they take on Gainesville, Westlake, Chapel Hill, and East Coweta and Douglas County wrapping up the season. That's a lot of opportunities for Juju Lewis to be featured. And of course, GPB Sports and John Nelson, Matt Stewart, Hannah Gooden, they're all going to be there covering this guy. And looking forward to enjoying the ride. The next prospect on the list is the defensive tackle from Manchester, and that is Justice Terry. I mean, what can you say about Justice Terry? He is just an absolute beast. He is also a verbal commit to USC. So the first 2 recruits in the state of Georgia are committed to the USC Trojans. We did have a commit approximately a decade ago that was playing at USC, got injured, and then went to Georgia. And we're talking about Carver's own Jarvis Jones. I mean, we do have a USC Georgia connection. I would love to see these 2 schools play each other, maybe in the college football playoff. Because I think that USC back in the early 2000s has been that team that has been atop of the college football world when it came to recruiting and getting the best players, as Pete Carroll just did a phenomenal job. Let's look at what Manchester has going on in Class A Division 2. So Manchester will open up the season taking on Harris County. Looking forward to that matchup. This is a rivalry renewed. When you think of Manchester and you think of Harris County, you think of pageantry, you think of border schools, because you've got Mayweather County and you also have Harris County. They border each other. I'm looking forward to this rivalry as we pull up the schedule for Manchester. And then they will take on, hang on one second, as I got my Excel spreadsheet coming up here. They will take on Upson Lee on the 23rd of August. Then they will take on Macon County. They will take on Chapel Hill, Tryon, Bowden, which is a rematch of the state championship. And then they also will take on Mount Zion from Carroll, and they will take on Greenville. That will be a region game. The schedule is not finalized. This is according to Max Preps. I know that there's supposed to be 10 games on here, but that schedule is going to be finalized probably in the next couple of months. All right, the number 3 recruit from Savannah Christian School. He's the defensive tackle, Elijah Griffin, who is undecided. This guy's a beast, 6'6", 285. Savannah Christian was the runners-up in 3A last year. I mean, if you're a football fan, you got a chance to see him at Otis Spencer Stadium when Savannah Christian was taking on the Carver Tigers in the semifinals. This is going to be a very special player, and who knows where he could possibly go. The number 4 recruit is actually from the Chattahoochee Valley. It is 4-star outside linebacker Zayden Walker from Schley County. Schley County, another one of those teams in the Chattahoochee Valley that's going to compete for a state championship. I'm excited of what Schley County is going to do. I know that they are missing several pieces on the offensive side of the ball, like Jake Hawazana and Jalua Solomon. But let's take a look at the schedule for Schley County, as they actually will open the season taking on Seminole County, as that is going to be on the road. And then on the 23rd of August, they are taking on Hawkinsville. They will take on Irwin County, Early County. They will be going to Casita, taking on Chatco on September the 13th. Remember, Chatco's got a new head football coach, Coach Bruce Figgins, as that rivalry is going to be intense, and I can't wait for that. I hope that we're able to live stream that game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. That's a game I'm penciling in. That looks like a showcase game. Chatco, Schley County. Schley County will travel to Roberta to take on Crawford County, and then they're going to be on the road. They're hosting Crawford County. They are going to take on Macon County, Taylor County, Central Talbotton, and Marion County. That is the schedule for Schley County. I'm only going to do the top 10 recruits, because I don't have much time here on the show. So I'm just going to go top 10. So I'm at 4. Number 5, Ellis Williams, the tight end from Camden County. So Camden County's in 6A. Remember, they went to the semifinals last year as a number 3 seed. Ellis Williams, he is a verbal commit to the University of Georgia. Georgia knows something about tight ends. They had a great one with Brock Bowers. Now he's on the Raiders. And Ellis Williams is going to be the tight end of the future. We're going to see what Georgia is going to look like in 2025. Number 6, the 4-star outside linebacker from Dodge County, Daryl Johnson. He is a verbal commit to the University of Alabama. And then the running back from Lee County. Remember, Lee County, one of the favorites in 5A. They were in 6A. They make the transition down to 5A. It is Usmain Korama. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He is undecided. He is 6'2", 218-pound running back. And then the 4-star athlete from Douglas. Remember, Douglas is going to be featured in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. So we're going to get a chance to see Jonte Gilbert just to kick things off August the 14th against the LaGrange Grangers. He is undecided. And then the 4-star edge rusher from IMG Academy. No, here's the thing. This is according to Rivals. This is a player from Georgia, but he's playing at IMG Academy. So don't get it twisted. He's not playing in Georgia, but he is a verbal commit to Ohio State, trying to follow the footsteps of Air Nolan, who might become the starting quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then finally, the first offensive tackle off the board. He is from Evans, a 4-star offensive tackle, Mason Short. He's a verbal commit to the University of Georgia. I can't go through the entire list according to Rivals.com, but that is the top 10 recruits in the state of Georgia. I hope you enjoy my show. This is the GHSA 2024 High School Football Preview Show. I do plan on having my AHSAA High School Football Preview Show I'll also talk about the GIAA and the AISA, but we got so many teams making transitions to include Calvary Christian going over to the GIAA and Glenwood going to the AHSAA. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you once again for watching my show. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.